up, you guys? My name is Aubrey and this is my channel, and today, in honor of Halloween, I'm going to be talking about the scariest habits that you guys need to look about getting rid of if you're somebody who wants to be more productive and more successful going into 2021. Get it? Because it's Halloween, scary habits. I brainstormed a video idea for about an hour trying to figure out a video idea that would be relevant to this channel, but also pay homage to Halloween, and that's the best I could come up with. But in all seriousness, I'm going to be talking about the habits that you should reevaluate going into 2021 to help you be more productive, more successful, and more efficient with your time. So let's get started. So let's just jump right into it and talk about some of the habits that I want to talk about today. Now, these are all habits that I have personally shifted in the last few years in order to not only improve my career, but also my personal life as well. And with that, the number one habit that I want to talk about is your sleeping habits. Now, sleeping is something that we all unfortunately have to do. In fact, sleep is something that I have an internal struggle with almost on a daily or weekly basis because I hate the fact that I need to sleep, but I also understand that I need sleep in order to function. Now, the topic of sleep when it comes to success and just entrepreneurship or investing or career or work is something that is oftentimes debated, because if you look on social media and you see people refer to sleep, they often refer to it in a very negative light. Something along the lines of like, sleep is for the weak, or sleep is for when you're dead, or you don't need sleep if you're passionate enough about work. And all of these things I wish were true, but they simply aren't. In fact, I remember a couple of years ago I read an article that said that Jay-Z only sleeps for 4 hours a night and he just works for the other 20 hours a day. And I remember at the time whenever I read that article, I desperately tried to get my body to a point where it only needed 4 hours of sleep, and I could never get there. And the reason why I could never get there is because my body will never only need 4 hours of sleep. Sleep is something that we all need, and it's something that is highly individualized. And one of the things that I challenge you guys to do going into the new year, and even in this next quarter, is to figure out how much sleep you need. For me, I know I need 8 hours. If I get less than 8 hours, I feel crappy. If I get much more than 8 hours, I feel crappy. And for you, that may be 6 hours. It might be 10 hours. It might be 9 hours. Whatever the case is, I encourage you to really try to analytically look at how much sleep you need to function. Once you figure out how much sleep you need, I would encourage you to lay out a sleeping routine and sleeping schedule. This is something that I myself am trying to perfect and trying to work on because my sleeping schedule is kind of all over the place. But I also recognize the fact that scientists and sleep experts alike agree that it's important to go to bed and wake up at the same time no matter what day it is. Whether it's a holiday, a weekday, a weekend, it's important to stick to a sleeping routine. And that's one of the things that I've been trying to perfect and really get a grip on over the last few years. For me, my goal is to always be in bed asleep by 10 p.m. and my goal is to be up and moving by 6 a.m. But sometimes I, of course, wake up earlier than that. Sometimes I wake up much later than that. Regardless of what your sleep routine looks like, it's important to have one, because if you have the right amount of sleep, if you stick to a sleep schedule, you will not only be a happier and healthier human, but you'll also be a more productive and efficient human as well. So if you haven't already put a lot of thought into how and when you sleep, I would highly encourage you to do that, because I think it will have a drastically positive effect on your life going into 2021. The next habit that I want to talk about is your food and diet habits. Now, this isn't a diet and nutrition channel. I'm not trying to turn it into one. But one thing I think so many people don't fully understand, or at least don't fully want to admit, is the fact that your diet has a drastic effect on your life in more ways than one. Not only does your diet affect your fitness level and your physique, but it also affects your productivity, your efficiency, your mental and your emotional health. Diet, I would say, is one of the only all-encompassing things that has a effect on virtually every aspect of your life. And the fact is that if you're going to eat crappy, you're probably going to feel crappy as well. Now, don't get me wrong, I love fast food and I love junk food as much as the next person. In fact, I have said for years that my favorite food is French fries. And if I could live off of French fries and French fries alone, I would do it in a heartbeat. But I also understand that as much as I love fast food, it simply isn't a sustainable diet choice for me going long term. It's important for everybody to have a balanced diet of foods that make them feel good, that make them feel efficient, and that make them feel energetic. And if you have a diet that hinders any of those things, it's time to reevaluate it. It's important to eat what makes you feel good, and what makes you feel good may not be what makes me feel good. And that's where I don't want to sit here and give you diet advice, because what works for me most likely won't work for you. But either way, I encourage you, just like with your sleep habits, habits to really sit down and to figure out what type of eating habits make you feel at your best. Is it a balanced diet of meat, veggies, carbs? Is it a plant-based diet? Is it a vegetarian diet? Is it a pescatarian diet? Whatever the case is, figure out what works for you and really try to stick to it. Now, I'm not asking you to give up fast food forever. In fact, I eat at Taco Bell probably once a week. But it's important to be consistent with good eating habits, not only for the sake of your health and your well-being and your efficiency, but also your wallet and your budget as well. Now, the third habit that I want to talk about is the spooky habit of having really poor time management skills. Now, one of my biggest pet peeves is whenever people say that they don't have time for something or that they're too busy for something. I think that this excuse is ultimately just saying that something wasn't important enough to prioritize, because I'm a firm believer that if something is important enough to you, you will simply find the time for it. If you have something, whether it be a work priority, a family priority, a business priority, or a self priority, if that thing is important enough to you, you will simply find the time for it. And I think that the excuse of saying, well, I'm too busy or I didn't have time is just ultimately saying that it wasn't a priority. And that's okay. I think it's okay to not prioritize some things, and I do it myself. But using the excuse of I don't have time is simply a poor one in my opinion. With that being said, I do think that time management is something that everybody can improve on, including myself. Time management is incredibly important to not only make your life as efficient as possible, but to also fit everything you want to fit in a single day. For me, I know that I have a dozen things that I want to do in a single given day. I have things going on in my personal life, in my business life, I have this YouTube channel, and I have so much more. And none of this would be possible if I wasn't super efficient with my time. And because of that, time management is incredibly important to not only grow in your personal life, but in your career as well. I think that this is one of those skills that you should always strive to perfect. And I think that there are a few ways that you can go about doing that. From making to-do lists, to scheduling things in your calendar, to having things scheduled in advance, and to having a plan for every single day. These are all ways that you can prioritize your time and really improve your time management skills as a whole. So let's leave the habit of telling people that we don't have time for something or that we were too busy for something in 2020, because I think 2021 should be the year that we all strive to be better at time management. And if we don't want to do something, then let's just simply call it what it is and not use the excuse of, well, I'm too busy or, well, I don't have time. Because let's just face it, there are some things we don't want to do, and that's totally okay. And the fourth spooky habit that I want to talk about is the habit of setting goals but never actually striving to reach those goals. Now, this is something that everybody does, including myself. And I think that it's something that people get into the habit of doing again and again and again. And it's really prevalent in January 1st with New Year's resolutions. I think that one of the most harmful things that we as humans can do is to set goals but never actually set a plan on how to get it. And you see this all the time. I want to lose 50 pounds, but then the person never actually cuts back their calories to lose weight. I want to go on this extravagant vacation, but they never set out a plan on how they're going to get there. I'm going to become a multimillionaire, but they never actually design a roadmap in order to get there. The fact is that if you have something that you want to accomplish, the difference between having that as a dream and having that as a goal is having a clear roadmap in order to get there. And as we head into 2021, I really feel as though it's important that everybody figures out what their goals are. And it's important to really turn that dream into a goal by having a roadmap on how to get there. So one of the biggest challenges that I have for you going into 2021, and this is something that I will expand on in a future video as well, is to leave the habit behind of simply just stating dreams that you have and instead turning those dreams into goals by laying out a detailed and realistic roadmap of how you're going to get there. If you want to be a millionaire, that is amazing. And I think that you could absolutely do it. But how are you going to get there? Do you want to start a business? That's great. But how are you going to get there? Do you want to lose 50 pounds? Great. Well, how are you going to get there? Every goal has a path in order to get there, and it's important for you to not only decide what that goal is, but to also determine the path in order to achieve it. And that is the last spooky habit that I want you to leave behind in 2020. But you guys, I would love to hear your thoughts on this video. What are your thoughts on the habits that I talked about in this video? Do you have any additional ones that I didn't mention? I would love to hear it, so make sure to leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. I hope that everybody has a wonderful, safe, and socially distant Halloween, and I will see you guys in the next one.